of the Treasury Board.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise today to speak on the bill that I just asked a question about, Bill C-15, which will implement many of the measures contained in the budget that our government tabled on March 22nd. Mr. Speaker, in electing a new government, millions of Canadians signaled their desire for change, and our government was elected in part because we took that desire seriously. We offered Canadians an ambitious new plan for a strong middle class and a strong economy, and we promised we would do all that we could do to help every Canadian succeed. And Budget 26 is an important part of fulfilling that promise. It offers immediate help to those who need it the most and lays the groundwork for sustained, inclusive economic growth that will benefit Canada's middle class and those working hard to join it. It helps reduce the income inequality gap while stimulating the clean economy. So for generations, Canadians worked hard, secure in the belief that their hard work would be rewarded. They trusted that in exchange for their honest efforts, they would realize greater opportunities for themselves and for their families. And this sense of optimism, paired with government policies that strengthen the middle class, as well as the robust immigration that we have had that's created such a diverse country, have helped to make Canada the country it is today. In recent years, however, the benefits of economic growth have been shared by fewer and fewer Canadians, and Canada's wealthiest 1% have seen their income double in 30 years, actually. Meanwhile, even though household costs continue to rise, for most families, income has barely risen over those same past 30 years, making it harder to make ends meet. In Vancouver, we have the double whammy of a shortage of affordable housing and skyrocketing housing prices. And first, that started in my riding of Vancouver Quadra, the west side of Vancouver, but it has now moved out right into our metro area. I'm pleased to say that I have met directly with leaders in CMHC to make sure they really understand the Vancouver situation and how hard it is for ordinary families, for young people to buy a house and make a home in Vancouver, and what the downside that is for our city. And I am also pleased to have met several times with the minister responsible for housing so that he could understand Vancouver's unique situation. And I'm pleased to say that our government responded in this budget, not only with the massive infrastructure investment, social housing being a big part of it, but also through $500,000 allocated for Stats Canada to thoroughly research and understand the statistics and bring the evidence forward about the housing price increases that I just described. So with Budget 2016, our government seeks to help more Canadians and restore Canadians' confidence in a brighter, more prosperous future. I'm going to speak about a couple of things that are near and dear to my heart, and one of them is the environment, and another one is veterans. So the environment is actually, it comes out as the top issue for Vancouver Quadra constituents, according to the surveys and what how they fill them out. And I would say our government is operating on the principle that the economy and the environment go hand in hand. Now, Mr. Speaker, I used to say that 15 years ago when I was an environment minister for the province of British Columbia, but that principle has not been in operation over the last 10 years. So I am very pleased that our environment minister, our prime minister, our cabinet see the world that way. And I'd like to highlight some of the investments in the environment. Budget 2016 provides $3.4 billion over 5 years to address a range of climate change, air pollution, ecological protection, and to restore public trust in the environmental assessment processes. Very important investment. In addition to that, the budget invests $81 million to boost Canada's marine and coastal protected areas from 1% today to 10% by 2020, a very ambitious program of improving protection for our marine areas. In addition, $40 million a year has been reinstated for science, ocean science investments for research and science so that we can help protect our fish stocks like our wild salmon that are so important to British Columbians. Mr. Speaker, the Kitsilano Coast Guard base, which is an absolutely necessary facility that was closed by the Conservative government, is being reopened or has been reopened. The announcement took place just a week or so ago, and this will have a strengthened mandate to protect our environment, our ecosystem in English Bay and Burrard Inlet and the beaches by responding to oil spills. So a lot of good news on the environment. The other area I wanted to touch bases and where we needed real change to happen, and which Vancouver Quadra constituents see as a core responsibility of a responsible government, has to do with veterans. Veterans who have dedicated their lives to the defense of our country. They deserve our unwavering support, and frankly, they did not receive that from the previous government. The Government of Canada, over the decades, has had a social covenant with all veterans and their families, but the previous government actually had their lawyers arguing that that did not exist in lawsuits in which they were trying to prevent the veterans from having a fair settlement for their injuries. So that is a sacred obligation we must and we will meet with both respect and gratitude. As the defense critic for the 2 years prior to the recent election, I met many, many times with veterans in town halls, in Legion halls, in meeting rooms across the country and in Ottawa, and heard their many concerns. So I am delighted that our government will give back to veterans who have given so much to Canadians. We will respect the social covenant, the sacred obligation. And the bill restores critical access to services for veterans and ensures the long-term financial security of disabled veterans. Canada's veterans will receive more in local in-person government services, as well as better access to personalized case managers. With this budget, we are providing additional funding to Veterans Affairs Canada so it can reopen service offices recently shuttered in Charlottetown, Sydney, Corner Brook, Windsor, Thunder Bay, Saskatoon, Brandon, and in my province of British Columbia, in Prince George and Kelowna. And we're also planning to open a new office in Surrey, BC. So to help veterans in the rehabilitation process, we'll enhance frontline services by hiring additional case managers and reduce the client-to-case manager ratio to no more than 25:1. We'll increase the earnings loss benefit from 75% to 90% of a veteran's monthly gross pre-release military salary. So, Mr. Speaker, the principle here is that, veterans who have been injured should not have to live in poverty because the government is ignoring their needs. So there are many other aspects of the veterans' requests that are being satisfied in this budget, and the government will continue to consult with them, with the veterans, towards the full package of support and respect that they've earned and they deserve. So, Mr. Speaker, Canadian Armed Forces and veterans with service-related disabilities will see an increase in the benefits they receive, and they will see an increase in the services that they are provided. The measures contained in our budget will not only benefit our veterans, but other groups of Canadians who deserve our support and our respect. And this includes senior citizens and our children. I don't have time, unfortunately, alas, in this speech to elaborate on the investments that we are making in seniors and children, the groundbreaking investments that will remove almost a million single low-income seniors from from below the poverty line, and will lift hundreds of thousands of children above the poverty line as well. So by boosting funding for the most vulnerable, we are reducing income inequality. We are investing for the years and the decades to come. We are investing in our children and grandchildren so that they may inherit a more environmentally sustainable, prosperous, and hopeful Canada. So, Mr. Speaker, simpler, tax-free, and more generous, the child tax benefit is an example of the kind of good public policy that is in this budget. This bill is an essential step to restore prosperity to the middle class and fairness to all Canadians. I look forward to hearing from colleagues from all sides of this House as we discuss this bill in the coming days, this very timely and very important piece of legislation for Canadians. Thank you.